Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. You can call me whatever you'd like. Now all the lights are up. What's up, friends? How are you? Fiverr Friday, doing a little repair on a QAV-S 3-inch, and that was some flying from this crazy construction site. When was that from? That was 2020. Wow, almost exactly a year ago. 8/6/2020. Wow, yeah, almost exactly a year ago. In the chat, Michael Hill, Finn FPV, Raccoon FPV, Robin Duckett, Dan Richmond, Skippy FPV, Jackalope, Alpha Sloth, Brian Ladmeraw, Robin Duckett again, Espander, EE Doc, Remy Tim is here, MC Tech, Espander again, Frank Nicholas, Ricardo Ferreira, I'm just going to say Ricardo, NB Man, and Mark Philly. What's up, friends? Hey, here's another little bit of flying. I've got a little Pop-Tarty thing that I'm gonna I just want to finish eating. Here you go. Be right back. Time. Enough of that. That's the end of the battery anyway. Perfect. Nope, that's not the right button. That's not the right button. This is my full-time job. If you'd like to support me so that I can keep doing this and keep bringing you guys live streams every other day, you got to go over to CiottiFPV.com and just click all the buttons. Just go right down the list. Click every single button. Don't do that. Click the buttons that make the most sense to you. Patreon helps me out the most. $3 whole a month, that's only 10 cents a day. 10. The same number of fingers that you have pennies every day, and your boy CiottiFPV can keep doing this. There's also a whole bunch of other tiers, $5 a month, $10 a month, 20, 30, 40, 50. If you want to give more, if you're in a position where you can give more, that's amazing. There's giveaways, there's all kinds of other benefits to those other tiers. Head on over, check it out. If you can, it helps a lot. YouTube and Instagram are here. Etsy with a whole bunch of stickers and hardware. We're going to look at that in a second. Fiverr with flight instruction, tuning, and a bunch of other fun stuff. And then t-shirts on Teespring, FPV Exchange as well. If you'd like for me to get money for free, there's a bunch of affiliate links. If you ever find yourself doing an order, or anybody that you know, for any one of these websites. If you use my affiliate link, I'll get 1 to 6% of the total order. FPV Cycle, Amazon for anything, including like a jack to jack up your car. Get FPV, oh my god, FPV Crate, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress. Those are all the websites that have hooked me up with affiliate links. It's free money. You can still use coupon codes and get free shipping and all that nonsense. This is what my little Etsy store looks like. Whole bunch of stickers on here and a whole bunch of random hardware. This is what Fiverr looks like. I'm providing FPV flight instruction. If you want to fly like I just was at that construction site, I can definitely help you out, and I've helped a whole bunch of people out with that. I can help you out with tuning so that your rig flies like mine. I can also help you pick the right parts so that you don't waste your money on garbage. I've wasted thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and probably hundreds of hours at this point buying shit parts. So give me 80 bucks for an hour of my time, and I will tell you the parts to not buy and the parts to buy so that you don't have to waste hundreds of dollars on shitty parts and a whole bunch of time. Do it. Build planning is the shit. Working together with Remy Tim and FinFPV as well. Remy Tim is doing FPV mentoring. If you've got technical questions, if you've got somebody that's getting into the hobby, Remy Tim can definitely help them out. If you don't want to do your own editing and you want some really nice footage that makes you look like a better pilot than you are, FinFPV can definitely help you out. These two guys are super awesome. You should work with them just as much as you work with me. What else are we doing here? Over on Teespring, this is my little store over there. Look at this beautiful Kill All Carbon artwork. You know you want that on a shirt, or a phone case, or a tote bag. We've got some mugs, we've got some long sleeve, we've got some hoodies, we've got all kinds of nonsense. If you see some artwork on one of these that you would like, if this artwork here, if you want this on a hoodie, just let me know and I can do it for you. It's not hard. I can get you all hooked up. I just like kind of randomly put a whole bunch of these on here, and you know, it is what it is. FPV Exchange is a wonderful website by a wonderful human being, Nevin Zanakis. This is my little store over on FPV Exchange that he built for me. FPV Exchange pulls items in the FPV universe all into one spot so that you can look and see what everything costs to price shop. It also makes trying to find stuff in stock a lot easier. This is how it works here. So these stick ends are being sold by me, my individual item, as well as Rotor Village. I'm selling them for $8. Rotor Village is selling them for $12, so I show up on top. That's one of the really slick things about FPV Exchange. As people use it to price shop, they're going to see your items that you're individually selling, and they're going to be able to, you know, you'll be on the top of the list, so they'll buy them from you. Who wouldn't? So yeah, get on over to FPV Exchange, log in, sign up rather, and one of the coolest things is that you can import all of your past purchases by just typing in your login and your password to RDQ, GetFPV, PyroDrone, all the big shops. And then you'll have all your stuff in one spot here in FPV Exchange. It is totally safe. Nevin specifically designed this website to get us off of Facebook Marketplace because there's some stalker shit going on over there. So yeah, do it. FPV Exchange is a safer spot to sell your stuff than Facebook Marketplace. Get on there, get yourself set up, and then once you have all your stuff imported, all you got to do is flip a switch, and that'll make it for sale. You don't have to take pictures, write a description, none of that shit. Flip a switch, it's for sale on the same page as everybody else, all the big resellers, I should say. Profit. Make money. Buy more stuff. Big news! NewBeeDrone AcroBee5. Oh, farts. Look at that. There it is. V3. Oh, shit. It's out. It exists. $140 for the ready to fly. I haven't even looked at this yet, so let's take a really quick look. Goal, so it comes with 0802 18,000 kV motors. You guys know how I feel about tiny whoop motors that are this low of a kV. To me, it's either 24, 25,000 kV or nothing. But that's just me. I like tiny whoops to have some power. If you're looking for efficiency, then these 0802 18,000s are going to be great. Receiver improvements, 50% more range, optimized SPI receiver, removable antennas, additional low noise what is this nonsense? There we go. This is all I care about. Optional wiring harness is available to install an external receiver. Fantastic. That's all that matters. Because then, yeah, then it doesn't matter. You don't have to use the onboard. Maybe the onboard SPI is good. Typically they're not. But the fact that it has pads to put an external receiver on, that's really all that matters. That's the important thing there. Video transmitter improvements, 120 milliwatts. Hell yeah. New heat sink and layout to increase heat dispersion and efficiency. Transmitting power increased to 120 milliwatts from 25 on the V2. On the V1, it went up to 100 milliwatts. The difference between 100 and 120 milliwatts is pretty much nothing. What you guys want to remember is that when we're talking about milliwatts, it's kind of like the inverse square law, I think. I don't know what it's actually called, but in order to get double the range, you have to quadruple or square, I think it is, the amount of milliwatts. So, for example, going from 25 milliwatts to 100 milliwatts, that doubles your range. It doesn't quadruple your range, it doubles your range, going from 25 to 100. So, going from the V2 of 25 now to 120, that's a big deal. That's going to double your range. Personally, I've been buying the V1 NewBeeDrone AcroBee AIOs, and those are 100 milliwatt. The difference between 100 milliwatts and 120 milliwatts is going to be pretty much nothing, right? When you go from 100, in order to double the range, you got to go up to 400, from 100 to 400. So, yeah, realistically, from 100 to 120 doesn't really make any difference. But it's amazing that it's not just 25. That's very, very rare. And the VTX is on board, which is my favorite thing about it. If you'd like to install an external receiver, you'll need to purchase this 4-pin JST cable. What's that? Interesting. So I guess they have the receiver. I guess the receiver out is on a little plug header. Is that what I'm basically reading? Let's see here. So I'm also really happy that they have pads like this and not just those little corner jib jabs. The little corner jib jabs are fine for a receiver, but they're kind of annoying for motor wires. I don't know why they're saying that you have to have that 4-pin JST cable. It doesn't look like it from the board here. The board looks like right here. Come on, get big mouse. There we go. It looks like right here is the receiver pads, and then you've got the tiny little proprietary plugs that they use, which is driving me absolutely mad. And then here's your plug header and your pads for the camera. There's your UFL for the VTX antenna. Here, I'm assuming, is your connector for the SPI, the internal SPI, probably FR Sky, right? Receiver. And then again, here on the corner are the pads for the external receiver. And then we've got motors 1, 2, 3, and 4. Not necessarily in that order. Let's dig a little deeper and see what else we got here. It looks like the motors are Unibel now. That's good. Unfortunately, like I said, the KV is just way too low. 2 configurable micro LEDs, flash your favorite colors and patterns. That's very cool. The V1 and the V2 both had that as well. It's very fun. You can put them on a switch. 23 grams, that's pretty good. That's where we want it to be. And here we go. So, flight controller, V3 AIO motors, yeah, propellers, receiver. VTX on board. Well, let's hit the, here we go. This is the page that I want to look at. $100 for just the AIO. That's a lot, but prices are going up on everything. NewBeeDrone can't really help that. I'm sure nobody at NewBeeDrone is driving around in a Ferrari. They're gonna sell stuff for as cheap as they possibly can. Oh, here we go. All right, so 5-volt Oh, okay, I was wrong. 5-volt LED strip and ground are these pads on the side here. So you've got motor, camera connector here, camera pads here, VTX antenna, receiver antenna, so I was good to go there. Receiver power solder pad, that's interesting. Oh, and here it is. So here it is. That you do have to buy that cable because right here is a plug header. I didn't even see it because it's a black plug header. Okay, so yeah, you got to get that little plug header. That's totally fine. That's kind of nice actually that that it's on a plug header for the receiver. I kind of dig that. So ground 5-volt RX and TX on the UART too, and then we've got the motor pads off on the side there. Very cool. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm totally cool with that. What else do we have here? 50% more range from SPI, which is good, although the problem is SPI range is pretty awful, so 50% more isn't really that much. See what else we got. It looks like it's an F4, STM32 F411. Jesus, 12 amp ESC. Wow, okay. With 48K JESC. Very cool. It's a 6-gram AIO. Dimensions are what they are. And very cool. Okay. It doesn't say what the gyro is. I have a feeling it's not an MPU 6000, but some of the new gyros seem to be totally fine. Oh, it does 2S. Somebody just typed into the chat. Yeah, battery input 1S or 2S. The V1 technically does 2S, but it overheats on 2S, as you guys have seen on Whoop Wednesdays. So this looks pretty good. We're going to have to see how it is. If it had an MPU 6000 gyro, in theory, they would have set it in here. The MPU 6000 gyro was discontinued ages ago. So I'm really not surprised that this more than likely doesn't have it. But like I said, a lot of these new gyros have been performing totally fine. So I'm not really in the market for one of these. I have 3 of the V1s and they're totally fine. So I won't be running out and buying one of these. If you do, let us know how it is. Let us know if the motors get hot. Let us know how the runtime is. That's how we're going to be able to tell if the gyro that's in there is working. I'm willing to bet that it's gonna, and it's gonna be totally fine. But one of my fears and one of the problems that I had was that the V2 board, the gyro was too sensitive, and I got jello on my V2s that I didn't get on the V1, which did have the MPU 6000. That's not the only thing that was different between the V1 and the V2, so it could have been something else. But I digress. I'm just giving you guys all the info. Do with it as you please. In the chat, if you'd like to talk directly to me, all you've got to do is type CiottiFPV like Michael Hill did. You don't have to put an @ sign in front of it, but you can if you'd like. If you tag me or if you do a super chat, I'm going to read your comment and we're going to talk about it. Michael Hill said afternoon. Ciotti Jackalope said happy Friday. EEDoc says the AIO getting swapped for a 20x20 stack. I wish, EEDoc. Unfortunately, another AIO is going in. B-Man says, yo, what's up? Robin Duckett says, sick power loop. Thank you, brother. Espander says, hi. Scrolling. Ricardo says, I'm tired of smashing VTX antennas. Should I go the stubby route? If you never push range, Ricardo, you can do that. I like being able to go really far in the middle of a battery and not really have to worry about it. So for me, I just replace the antennas. I know it's annoying, but yeah, getting the end, it makes a really big difference. Getting the head of the antenna an inch or two away from the carbon fiber and the lithium polymer battery. So yeah, if you go the stubby route, understand that your range is going to suffer quite a bit, especially when you turn back towards yourself. Stubby antenna plus going far and turning back to yourself, towards yourself, equals pretty much all your video going away. if you're at any decent range. So just understand that a stubby is definitely going to kill your range. But if you fly, you know, within a couple 100 feet of yourself at all times, like a lot of us do, you'll be totally fine. So maybe build one rig with a stubby that you bash the shit out of and one rig with a regular antenna, and there you go. Drone Pilot says, hey. Chris Croft says hi. Frank Nicholas dropping the link to CiottiFPV.com. Thank you, Frank. Robin Duckett says, thoughts on the new AcroBee65 B-Brain V3. Thank you, Robin. Your comment is what made me think to click on it. Random FPV says, you smexy, gangly, beautiful man. Finn FPV says, editing plus listening to the man himself, CiottiFPV is the perfect combination. What are you editing, Finn? Random FPV says, have my babies. Brian Ladmeraw says, oh, it's the inverse square law. That's what it is. Is that what I said? Did I say inverse square law? I think I might have said inverse square law. Your boy knows some shit. Maybe I didn't. Hopefully I did. Robin Duckett says, I use the NewBeeDrone 20,000 kV motors. Where can I get higher kV motors? They aren't proprietary. They're JST XH.8, if I remember correctly. They are not, Robin. They are JST 1.25, whereas everybody else uses JST 1.0. My preferred motors on mine are the Happy Model 0802 25,000 kVs that I have to then cut the connectors off of and direct solder. The fact that this V3 board has pads on the top is really nice. The V1s had like little crenellations or whatever the hell they're called, little pockets on the side that were really close together and they were really hard to solder to. I'm really excited to see that they put pads on the top of this damn thing, or maybe they're on the bottom, I don't know. But the fact that the pads are there is a really big deal. That'll make direct soldering motors to this V3 a lot easier. Your other option is the tinywhoop.com 0802 24,000 kV motors. Those are really good. And then the other option, I was pretty impressed by the 22,000 kV motors from iFlight and Beta FPV. They both make an 0802 22,000. If you're gonna, they're both JST 1.0, so same deal. You're gonna have to cut the connectors off and direct solder them. If you're gonna go through all that work, you might as well put the Happy Model 0802 25,000 kV motors on, and then if that's too much power, you just motor limit it down and you're good to go. It makes much more sense to do that than to say, oh, 22,000 will be enough for me. You go through all this hassle, you solder them on there, and then 6 months from now you've improved as a pilot and it's not enough power for you, and you have to desolder these goddamn things and get another. It's just stupid. There are no significant drawbacks to running a 25,000 kV motor down at like 80%, 85%, even 70% motor limiting in Betaflight. Use the motor limiting. It's there. It's a phenomenal feature. Start buying motors that are a higher kV than you need, because it's going to give you much more versatility. It's going to literally let you turn up your power or down. Like, that's a big deal. Like, it's a really, really, really big deal. We start talking about like, oh, there's a new propeller coming that's smaller or that's lower pitch or something like that. You're covered. You don't have to change all of your motors out to try that new propeller, or at least, you know, you try the new propeller and you love everything about it, but it's too low of a pitch and you don't get enough horsepower. Now you can't use that propeller without swapping all your motors. Fuck that. Buy motors that are higher kV than you need, scale them down a little bit, and yeah, that's the way to do it. And then also, like, if you're flying a big location, you can just turn the power up, right? Like, if you build your tiny whoop for in your small little apartment like me, but then you go over a buddy's house and he's got a big, like, 300 square foot house with like 30-foot ceilings, you can just turn your power up and now it's going to feel a lot better in that big ass space. It's a really big deal. Start using motor limiting, guys. I swear to God, you have motor limiting at less than 100% on all of your rigs from now on, and you can thank me. I'm drinking my favorite little mix of cranberry juice and pineapple juice. A non-alcoholic painkiller, basically. Painkiller being the name of a drink that has these two ingredients in it, as well as dark rum? I forget what the painkiller has in it. I think it's dark rum, and then they put some, they grate some nutmeg on top. EDoc says CiottiFPV is the new BeeDrone board using the same proprietary OSD chip that causes Betaflight releases to be spread apart. More than likely, EDoc. Let's take a look. If it isn't, we'll very easily be able to see the gigantic OSD chip on here. So there's no old school OSD chip on that side, and there's certainly no old school OSD chip on that side. So yes, they are using their proprietary OSD setup. Yeah, it really sucks that the OSD chips that work with like OG normal Betaflight are so goddamn big. Yeah, I mean, so that's the situation, right? Like the OSD chip, if you look at any flight controller other than the NewBeeDrones and like one or two other ones, 99% of flight controllers, they will have a big ass rectangular chip on there. It'll be the biggest, longest chip on there. Sometimes the main flight processor will be similar in size, maybe a little bit bigger. But the OSD chip is this big rectangular bastard. I'll point it out on this rig if you guys remind me to. If you don't use that OSD chip, NewBeeDrone realized that they could take a smaller chip, put it on there, and put like their own version of OSD, which works totally fine, and save a bunch of real estate on the board. If you do that, you have to release your own Betaflight. Betaflight will not release. Betaflight will not put you in their list. So because of that, with the NewBeeDrone AIOs, so Betaflight 4.3 is going to come out at some point here, and the day that 4.3 comes out, we won't be able to put it on NewBeeDrone AIOs unless they're like all over it, unless they're like on top of it and they drop their own hex immediately, which typically they don't do. 4.2, for example, there was about a month lag. There was about a month when 4.2 first came out that it didn't exist for any of the NewBeeDrone AIOs, NewBeeDrone flight controllers that have this custom setup. This is a better setup. Not using that gigantic OSD chip is a really good idea. I wish everybody would do it, but they're not. So yeah, that's the situation. If you guys have any other questions about that, let me know in the chat there. Great question, EDoc. Grumpy FPV says, good evening. Redtail FPV says, my RunCam hybrid only records for like 9 minutes. Is there a workaround for this, or is that just how it is? I gotta be honest, Redtail, I have no idea. I've never had a rig that runs for 9 minutes to try anything like that. I would not be surprised if that is how it is, because that HD board probably has some kind of a buffer on it, or there's probably something, and 9 minutes is a long time. Interesting. How are you getting runtime longer than 9 minutes with a rig that's carrying a RunCam hybrid? That's my question. Quadzimoto says, what's up? Metal Dirksen says, made it to the stream. Work can bite me. FinFPV says, working on that edit for you. Very cool. Looking forward to that. And Journey Druid says, sounds like a file size kind of thing. Yeah, it totally could be. Try this, Redtail. Change the, dump the quality as low as it'll go to shrink the file size down and see if it gets beyond 9 minutes. I bet you that's just, I bet you there's just sort of like a limit there on the size of the file or the size of the buffer on board or something like that. Did I say 300 square feet? I meant 3,000. I meant 300,000. Cool, I'm caught up on chat. We talked about the NewBeeDrone. Oh wait, let me add that to the name of the stream. NewBeeDrone AcroBee65. Very cool. They've been working on this for a long ass time. Let me put this in here real quick and let's just edit. NewBeeDrone AcroBee65 V3 discussion. Cool. All right, good deal. Raccoon FPV says, what is a good 3-inch build, not too expensive, that I could get under 250 grams, all up weight, keep up the good work? Raccoon FPV, so I've built a few, shirt for the day was sent over by Bill from BQE. This is the Ripsqueak logo. I've got live streams with a bunch of live streams with 2 Ripsqueak builds. That's my preferred 3-inch rig. Down below in the description is a list of the majority of the parts that I use and trust. It's tough to find some of them in stock. Over on Fiverr, I have a build planning service. You can book me for a half an hour or an hour, and we can talk about what you're going to use the rig for, how long you've been flying, where you fly, how often you crash, what you crash into. I've got a whole big list of questions so that I can get dialed in on the exact right setup of parts that are going to work for you the best. So you can either scroll down below in the description and get a bunch of knowledge there, and then hit these like dozen or so live streams that I've got where I built my Ripsqueaks, where I talk about all this stuff. Or if you really want to get dialed in, I can help you out. Rob Timko, who posted right after you, is one of the guys that I've done a bunch of build planning with, and he's absolutely in love with the Ripsqueaks that I've helped him build. So yeah, a couple different options for you. I would love to work with you one-on-one to really get you dialed in, but if your flight style is similar to mine, you can probably just, like I said, jump back to my live streams where I built my Ripsqueaks and just steal my recipe. Whatever works for you, man. I just want to make sure you get in the air with good parts. Chris Croft says, the file system used on SO limits file size to 4 gigabytes. That makes sense. Redtail says, it's an analog 4-inch micro long range flying on a 2S3000 mAh lithium ion. 17 minutes. Jesus. Yeah, Redtail, I think to get beyond 9 minutes, you're going to need to turn down the quality so that it limits the file size. That's something that we also run into on GoPros that's really annoying. My Hero 8 chops it at 5 minutes. Right on 5 minutes, it chops the file, and it's really annoying when I'm running that file and the next file that it creates into Real Steady Go, because it creates because the end of one and the beginning of the other never line up perfectly in Real Steady Go. It's kind of an issue, but most of my rigs don't run for longer than 5 minutes, so it's not that much of an issue, but yeah, it is what it is. Robin Duckett says, Ripsqueak V2, I've built 2 so far, 1 left to build. Love the slamnedness. Yeah, the Ripsqueak V2 is looking really good. I can't wait to transfer mine over. Pain FPV did not type CiottiFPV, and I did not get tagged, but I just happened to see his question. He says, hey Aaron, do you know anything about the RVS Yeet Mule 5-inch? I do not. I have not heard of that. Going to be swapping the guts for my Sector 5 over soon, and was curious if the Yeet Mule is any good. Waiting on it from RDQ. In terms of 5-inch frames, in my opinion, the Glide frame is the one. I've flown and built and screwed around with a bunch of different 5-inch frames, and none of them can hold a candle to the Glide. And the Glide is really cheap. Like $50 for a 5-inch frame is a crazy deal. So yeah, I don't really keep up with the other frame options just because, yeah, for $50 and the motor protection that it's got, the layout, the support, just like there's a million reasons why the Glide, in my opinion, is the best frame available. And for $50, it's like, what's the cheapest I mean, other than like Banggood stuff, right? Like legit stuff. What's the cheapest 5-inch frame out there? It's the Source 1, right? For like 30-ish bucks. For an extra $20, in my experience, the Glide is a much better frame. It protects the motors much better. The 5mm thick arms are much stronger in the direction that you want them to be strong in. No vertical carbon plates, so you can slam it down on 15mm standoffs. There's a lot of benefits. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've already got the Yeet Mule, so build it and see how you like it. But when you go to buy another frame, I would definitely recommend you buy a glide frame, because there's just nothing like it. And every single person that I've turned on to the glide frame will message me a month later like, I get it now. It's just a lot of thought went into it, a lot of testing went into it, and it's this sweet spot of like weight, size, true X, arms that break at the right point to try to save the motors. Lots of TPU options for it, lots of build options. Yeah, it's the one, in my opinion. Where was I? There we go. Robin Duckett says, get the CiottiFPV arm guards. Yeah, there's CiottiFPV arm guards, TPU arm guards on BQE for the Ripsqueak. You're going to like them. Eat Your Veg FPV, that's a great name. He says, hey, Ciotti, I never get to catch your streams live as I'm in the UK, but always listen to them while I'm driving at work, and wanted to say thanks for the entertainment and education. You're certainly welcome to Eat Your Veg. That's very cool. Do you listen to them? Hey, I forgot to mention, one of the other perks of joining the Patreon page for $3 whole a month is that you get audio versions of all these live streams. Is that how you listen to them, Eat Your Veg, or do you just put the YouTube videos on and just listen to them? Smooth and Groovin' just got off work, tuning in from home, tuning on his way home from work. Happy Friday, y'all. Glad to have you in here, Smoothin'. Eat Your Veg, can't wait for the shark bite content. I'm trying, man. I really am. I'm so backed up right now. It's coming, though. As I'm building my first rig with it anyway, can I super chat on mobile? Can't see an option. I don't think you can. I think somebody had this issue a while back. If not, I'll PayPal my thanks in the morning here. Very cool. Much appreciated, Eat Your Veg. If you're not on the Patreon yet, though, join instead of doing a PayPal, join the Patreon. I'd rather have you on there because there's a whole bunch of perks, and there's a lot of good stuff going on over on the Patreon page, and it just helps me a ton to have you guys on there. Check if you want to be on there and you think you're on there, double check, because Patreon's been kicking people off and not having the auto renew set up. So do me a favor, guys, just make sure that you're still on there. I've taken a huge hit on Patreon. It's gone down by like 40% since April, which I kind of knew was going to happen because I did like $5,000 in giveaways in April to celebrate my birthday. So I knew that I was going to get a huge amount of people jumping on, but unfortunately the Patreon has slowed down to the point where it's less than it was going into April. Yeah, just check and make sure you're still on there if you want to be on there, because there's really good content, and it gets you access to a bunch of cool shit. And Patreon only live streams. B-Man says, glide for the win. Only problem, if it's a thing for you, is some props in view with the X frame. It's true, especially if you run less than 30 degrees. 30-degree camera mounts, you're going to get just like the tiniest little bit of prop in view. If you run gray propellers up front, you won't be able to see it. Bob sells dead cat front arms if that's a deal breaker for you. Or if you want to run like a 20 or a 10-degree mount and not have props in view. That right there is something that no other frames allow you. Like any other frame, typically frames will not have any props in view or just a little bit at 30-degree up tilt. That's sort of the norm. At 20 or 10, all other frames are going to have props in view. The Glide allows you to have a set of arms that you can put on the front if that's a thing for you and get those props out of view. That's a really big deal. For me, I just run gray props up front, and when I mention that I have a little bit of prop in view, everybody's like, what, really? No, you don't. And then like they'll look really carefully and be like, oh my god, there is. It's just, yeah, neutral gray just absolutely disappears. It's total magic. FinFPV says, throw that Labs firmware on your GoPro. You just drop the update file in the SD card and put it in and it updates. Then go to GoPro's QR code editor and check 12 gigabyte chapters and scan it. I have a tab open here with the GoPro Labs. I gotta find a minute to get that going. Eat Your Veg with an £8.99 super chat. He figured out how to do it. Just found the tiny super chat option, so have some thanks and appreciation, man. Very cool of you, Eat Your Veg. Glad you're enjoying the content. Glad you're here hanging out in the chat, man. FinFPV was amazed at how easy it was to update to the Labs firmware. Paul McDonald says, get the F on Patreon. I agree. Ram Donko says, hi, will RunCam Hybrid fit into a Ripsqueak V2? It certainly will, Ram, as long as you do 28mm standoffs. The RunCam Hybrid is a 24mm tall camera, so as soon as you take that and you tilt it back for some up tilt, 24mm tall becomes 25, 26, 27 or so. So what you need is 28mm standoffs. That way you can put the RunCam Hybrid in there, you can get some up tilt, and it also gives you a bunch of room for an ESC, a flight controller, and then the RunCam Hybrid board. It's a phenomenal little combo. It's a hell of a rig for a 3-inch. I can't find anything better. And I've been looking for a long time. Let's do some work. Let's get to work, motherfuckers. So again, this is some Fiverr work. A local guy, Rodney, hired me over on Fiverr to swap the AIO in this rig, which I actually did for him about a month ago, I guess, a little over a month ago, I think it was. And unfortunately, I spun everything up, everything was fine. He flew it around for the first battery, and the AIO failed, which, you know, it's kind of what AIOs do. He tried to return it, but I told him to try to return it and get, like, an exchange, because AIOs are no good, but they wouldn't let him. They would only let him do get a replacement. So he's got a replacement, and he asked me to put that in. So that's what we're gonna do here. But for right now, really quickly, I'm gonna put these motor screws in to the Basher Glide so that it is back on its feet again with its now clean again motors. That was our stream on, what was it, Wednesday? Hope you guys liked that one. We covered a lot of really good ground on Wednesday, talking about how to maintain your motors, how to knock the bearings out of the stators, how to keep your, how to see if your, if the motor shaft in your motor bell is healthy. I mean, by healthy, what I mean is straight, not bent. So yeah, if you missed Wednesday's stream, you're going to want to go back and watch it, because we kind of covered all the bases in terms of making sure that your motors are in good shape. And there were some really good questions in the chat, and it was just a really good one. So go check that out. It was also a little bit of a shorter stream. It was only an hour and a half. So if time is money for you and you don't have time to watch my big, long 3-hour diatribe streams, that's going to be a good one over there for you to watch, because it wasn't quite as long. So check it out and you'll learn a little something. I also show you guys my little bearing press tool that I built from Lowe's. Lots of good stuff in that one, man. Go check it out. What's going on here? Why won't this go in? Get in there. Get in there, you little shitbird. Get in there. Come on. I have to take it out. It's getting all angry. Where's that little, there it is. I put these foam feet all the way at the end here, and I never realized, but they're kind of in the way when I have to do this. Come on, get out of there. Get out of there. Could you just please? There we go. Jackalope FPV with a $15 super chat. He says, iMac. Thank you, Jackalope. Too kind, my man. He's trying to get that trees. Jackalope is always trying to get that super chat train started, and I fucking love it. He's a one-man hype machine. If you need a hype man, Jackalope FPV is taking applications. Send him a message and say, yo, I got a party coming up. I need a hype man. And Jackalope will say, I got you, fam. Isn't that what the kids say? Don't they call each other fam? Is that a thing? Fam? It's short for family. You know what I mean? Which motor? It's this one. That's this one. Okay, cool. So we're good here. Alright. Thank you, Jackalope. Very cool of you. Let's get that iMac fund updated. Oh my god, that's going to put it to 1790. Look at us go. Yeah, this thing is still kind of filthy. Like, I cleaned the parts that I needed to clean, but like the bottom of the stators are still like covered in mud. But that's fine. This is good to go. Wow, this piece of Elma grip is really kind of shifting around here. I'm going to peel it up and put it back down, I think. Okay. There we go. Now we're centered. Cool. So yeah, the Basher rig is back together. This is the rig with the last set of F40 Pro 2s in the known universe, and I think I only have one extra bell. So at some point here, this rig will come off of those Pro 2s and go onto the Pro 4s. But that ain't today. Today, we are going to be working on this. And you can see where the previous AIO exploded on Rodney, unfortunately. For no reason. I made sure that there was plenty of clearance. It worked totally fine for me. It was good to go, but yeah, it blew up on him, unfortunately. Is this the one that blew up, or is this the new one? So there's two motors soldered on here. Is this the new one, or is this the blown up one? What's this in here? This would appear to be the new one. This is definitely the new one. Okay, so we're putting this one in. This must be the blown up one. Rodney must have removed the two motors that were acting up. And he included a set of extra motors. I'm very tempted, and I'm probably going to... I mean, like, we all know that the AIO is the problem. We've seen this a million times. But he's got the extra motors, so I think I'm going to use two fresh motors in the back just to eliminate any possibility of these two rear motors having been the problem. You know what I mean? Like, since he's already got them, we might as well use them. Yeah. Let's do that. Ruby Tim with a $5 super chat for the fund. Thank you, brother. Let me do a little bit of typing here. Gear fund goes from 85 to 1805. Look at that. I think I got that math right. Thank you, boys. Much appreciated. What else do we have here? Metal Dixon says, are those Ripsqueak standoffs M2? They are not. I bought a bunch of long M2 standoffs. I can even send you some. They are not. They are M3, which is really important. M3 standoffs are good and strong. My experience with M2 standoffs is that they're just way too weak. Even on micros. Maybe on like a toothpick you can get away with M2 standoffs. But anything other than a toothpick, I don't think for me at least, M2 standoffs have not held up, even the aluminum ones. Yeah, the Ripsqueak is M3. Ruby Tim says, just up my Patreon membership a few dollars to help out. Those giveaways were too good when you entered it. These giveaways are too good when you get entered into all of them automatically. I think Ruby Tim jumped up to the $30 a month tier. The $30 a month tier puts you onto the $5, the $10, and the $20 a month tier. So it's a really popular one. The way that I have the Patreon set up is that for $5 a month, you get entered into bi-weekly, every other week, Toothpick and Tiny Whoop giveaways. For $10 a month, you get entered into 3-inch micro brushless and Cinewhoop giveaways. And then for $20 a month, you get entered into 5-inch giveaways. I did this so that if you only fly toothpicks, you can only be entered into that one, right? I don't want you to get 5-inch propellers if you only fly toothpicks. For the folks that fly everything, they've got Tiny Whoops, they've got Cinewhoops, they've got 5-inch rigs. A lot of those guys are on that $30 a month tier. A lot of those guys win a lot of stuff, to be quite honest. And it almost kind of pays for itself. So yeah, that's how the Patreon works. Jackalope, we got that. Jackalope says, 1800, don't you ruin my OCD like that. B-Man says, last time I added 15 plus 85, it was 100. Not surprising. Bob Noxious says, what's up, chat? Waiting on the wife to come out of the store. Saw the notification pop up. Very cool. Thank you, YouTube, for sending a notification. That's rare. And then, hey, Rodney's here. What's up, brother? He says, that's the one you put on. The new one is in the case. Awesome. I had a feeling. Very cool. Yeah, Rodney in the chat. This is his rig. So let's get back to work on it. I have a feeling I'm not going to get this finished. We've already burned an hour talking about the NewBeeDrone V3 and your guys' amazing questions, but that's okay. Done with my drank. Soldering iron is coming on, and here we go. Let's unbox 2 fresh motors. Hey Rodney, I'm going to use 2 fresh motors. I'm assuming that you're cool with that. Ricardo says, how are your line of sight skills? Mine suck. Mine used to be really good. The very first quad that I got was line of sight only. So I got pretty good initially, and then I bought the Baby Hawk, which was an FPV rig, and I never did line of sight again. I try to force myself to do it every so often, but it lasts about 15 seconds before I get frustrated and I just start and I just put the goggles on. So yeah, being able to do line of sight stuff is a really nice skill to have, especially like if you need to hand land and shit like that. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's we should all practice it here and there so that we can hand land, because like if you're flying off of a boat or if you're flying in snow or in dust, that comes in extremely, extremely handy. But other than that, but hand landing is kind of creepy, so don't do it. But sometimes you have to do it. So it's kind of a nice skill to have. I don't really see the point in... I'm okay line of sight as long as I'm tail in. When you're tail in, left is left, right is right, forward is forward, and back is back. As soon as I go nose in, my brain can't handle it. And it's just all bad right away. So, yeah. But being somewhat decent at it when I'm tail in has saved me in a couple situations where I've needed to hand land the rig. Again, hand landing is a terrible idea and you should not do it because it is fucking creepy, but it is a nice little skill to have. God forbid you're in a situation where you really need to. So, yeah. Monazurchin says that QAV-S uses a combo of M3 and M2 standoffs. Looks like, yep, you are correct. Mine's been okay, but I haven't crashed it hard yet. Yeah, I would like to assume that because of the fact that they've got the 4 M3s in the middle here, that having the M2s in the front and in the rear is totally fine. Micros typically only have 4 standoffs anyway. So the fact that this rig has 8 standoffs, it's got a lot of strength, so it's probably totally fine. Does that make sense? You picking up what I'm laying down with that? I think you guys are. What I would not want is like a rip squeak on M2 standoffs, because there would only be 4 M2 standoffs, and I don't think that would be anywhere near strong enough to control, to not bend. And bending is bad. So these are the 2 motors that were on the rear. I'm going to put these back in the box so that I don't get them confused. Here is the second brand new motor that I'm going to put on here. And it looks like T-Motor is including a little adapter. See that? That's a little adapter so that these motors that they put a proprietary bolt pattern on can use the regular T-mount bolt pattern. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty nice of T-Motor to include that. Admittedly, the fact that they originally made these motors to have a proprietary bolt pattern was the stupidest fucking decision ever. So, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a band-aid, if you know what I mean. Yeah, better late than never, I guess, right? It's nice that they realized the error in their ways and included a little adapter. The adapter is going to have some extra weight, and weight on the rotating assembly here is real bad. So I would still very much rather them have not used proprietary a proprietary hole pattern in the first place, or now. Quite frankly, what I think that what they should do is use the regular, and maybe this is what they did do. Oh, I think this is what they did do. I think you have to run the little adapter for the... So what I was about to say is what they should be doing is putting... So this is one of the new motors that came with the adapter. What they should be doing is making the holes regular so that you can use every single T-mount prop on the holes as they exist, and then the little adapter is only for the one set of propellers that they make. These are the T-Motor... What the hell's the pitch? I don't know. This is T-Motor's 3-inch prop with the proprietary bolt pattern. You should have to use the adapter when you use only this one propeller. You should not have to use the adapter for every single other T-mount propeller being made. And I'm trying to figure out if that's the case, because there's a chance that that's exactly what they did. So let me see real quick. Nope, that's not what they did. They did it the other way. So yeah, that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. It's nice that they're giving the adapter, because previously you just couldn't run any other props. Like, you would buy these motors, you'd get them home, you'd put them on your rig, you would take your T-mount propellers and they wouldn't fit, and you'd go, what the fuck? And you'd have to try to figure out what the hell was going on, because, like, why would anyone ever do that? You know? So yeah, it's kind of one of those problems that shouldn't have existed in the first place, but yeah, not the end of the world. This is a little tip reconditioner. Works really well. Use it every so often. Ricardo said, then we got that. Robin Duckett says, recently saw that How I Flew FPV in the 1980s documentary. So interesting. I'm not familiar with that. What's that? Talked about that. Tony M says, you made me go buy a glide frame. I don't even need a frame right now, lol. Nice, Tony. You're going to dig it. You better have used my affiliate link, you bastard. If you didn't, it's fine. I forget to use my own affiliate links. Robin Duckett says, what AIO board are you putting in? So this is the original AIO board that they were only willing to swap out. This is the Beta FPV F4 AIO 20 amp toothpick brushless flight controller V4. 20 amps is a little bit low for these 1507s, but it should be totally fine. Ryan Harrell has been running 25 amp ESCs on all of his 5-inch rigs for the past like 4 years, and they're completely fine. They're completely fine. The manufacturers have gotten really, really out of control with the unbelievable amp ratings that they're putting on a lot of these ESCs and AIOs. They're almost doing that as like a Band-Aid, it seems. It feels to me like it's the cheapest way to make the ESC a little bit more durable, especially in hard crashes that lock the propellers up, or even better, spin the propellers in the opposite direction. But it's just that it's a Band-Aid. The AIOs, a lot of these AIOs have really nasty electrical noise problems and all kinds of other weird stuff going on. So yeah, the 20 amp should be totally fine. That ain't why that's not why this AIO that's in my hand right now blew up, that's for sure. It blew up because Beta FPV AIOs blow up a lot. I hate that's the... Yeah, I mean, I hate that that's the reason and that's the truth, but we talk about this a lot, you know. I know that Rodney tried to get out of this AIO and into a 20x20 stack, but yeah, a lot of times when you go to do not a warranty repair, but when you have a component blow up, most of the companies won't then let you switch to something else. They'll say, you know, hey, because it's like, then they kind of have to, right? Because it's like, oh, I bought this AIO and I don't like it. Let me blow it up, and then I can tell them, oh, hey, it blew up. I don't want it. I want this other one, right? Like kind of buyer's remorsey. So like, I can't necessarily say that I blame the retailer for doing that, even though it's, I don't know, it's kind of a known, it's hard, man, right? Like, what's the, I don't know, you guys know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to look for where this thing let go. Hold on. I know you guys can't see anything, but I'm looking at it with the little 5X loop. Where did this thing blow up? I don't know, it looks fine, but it's obviously not. I mean, the frame has burn marks all the hell over it. Huh. Alright, well, I'm going to put this back in the box. But, yeah, we're going to put this one in. So, everything is facing upwards. We are going to do the battery leads first here. Make sure the positive is in the positive and the negative is in the negative. That's important, so that you don't blow it right on up again. And the way that I like to do this is to kind of balance it like that. The capacitor on the end of the battery lead is kind of being a pain in the ass right now, but there we go. That's looking good. So I can bring the tip of the soldering iron in on the top, and then I can feed, yeah, so I'm going to do it like this. So I'm going to bring the tip of the soldering iron here, and then I'm going to feed solder in like that, and that should take care of it. What's going on in the chat? We got that. Robert Duckett says 1980s FPV documentary is good about a guy that stuck a security cam on a video transmitter on a plane in 1986. It's on YouTube. Damn, very cool. CMYK FPV says, what's up? What's up, CMYK? Mr. Stubbs12 says, hey there, I'm using the Hack RC F4126 with the 533 1404s on my QAV-S Mini 3-inch. Very cool, Mr. Stubbs. Very cool little combo there. All right, so let's get some flux on here. Oh, we could use this little guy. It might be too short though. I'm gonna stick with this longer one. Make sure Rodney's got enough length on the battery lead. All right, so we got some flux up in there. That's gonna help the heat transfer out. And I'm gonna take my little reel of solder. I'm gonna pull some extra out because I know I'm gonna need it. And here we go. Soldering iron is at 700 degrees. I use the tip reconditioner so it's nice and shiny. We're gonna apply heat and add some solder. The wire is flowing and we're adding solder until the pad is completely covered. That looks good. We're gonna go right to the negative lead since we already put a bunch of heat into the board. And that's looking pretty good there as well. We're gonna give it a second to cool off, and then we're gonna take a look and see if the solder penetrated to the other side of the board. This is nice and strong, that there's a nice big blob on the bottom here, but you always wanna try to make sure that you added enough solder for it to penetrate to the other side. The positive looks good, and the negative looks good as well, but I am gonna always use your 5X loop. Use the shit out of your 5X loops, guys. Use it for everything in your whole life. Let me bring the light down a little bit here. And, sorry guys. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, positive is beautiful. Oh yeah, negative is beautiful too. That's the way that it should look. Let me see. Let me zoom the Logitech and focus the Logitech manually. And I'll see if I can show you guys what I'm talking about here. So that's what the bottom looks like. Wait a second. There we go. Jesus, this is so hard to do. Where's it at? All right, so there's the bottom. Nice big blob of solder. See that? All right, so that's what you want to see on the bottom. Like that. And then on the top, we're looking for a little penetration. So you see how it's silver and not gold? That's what we want. We want a little bit of that silver solder. We want that silver solder to cover up the gold of those through pads. I know it's hard to see because I'm trying to like manually hold this up and the monitor's not reversed, but yeah, that's what hopefully my verbal description will work. CMYKFPV says, congratulations on the Gem Fan official sponsorship. Thank you, brother. If you haven't seen it, it's officially official, even though I've been talking about this for a while. And most of you guys probably know this, but there it is. Officially official Gem Fan sponsored pilot. Your boy, Ciotti, donkey. And look, I did a reel. I did my first reel. Isn't that exciting?
You should lose one.
Not really.
When it's this pretty out. I'm officially in the club. I've now lost the rig.
Fail. I wish it was better news that I was putting into the reel. Robin Duckett says, beautiful soldering JFC. Thank you, Robin. Mr. Stubbs12 says, it was nice to meet you in Atlanta at the Flow State movie. It's It's awesome to meet you as well, Stubbs. All you guys that I met. It was so cool. This fucking community, man. Our community is so goddamn cool. And B-Man says, love the headshot on Instagram from Jim Fan. Yeah, that's actually a picture that Kevin took of me, Stinger Swarm, back when I first moved here to Atlanta. One of the first, I think the first time that I went out and flew with all those guys. Yeah, he took that still of me. And it's one of the few... I don't really have many still images of me, like, flying. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not something that happens a lot. Like, you know, we're usually out there flying, not taking pictures, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, they asked me. They're like, "Hey, do you have a headshot?" I was like, no. Shit, kind of need one. So yeah, I actually I do need to get some done. So maybe like the next time I get my hair cut and look a little bit less homeless, I'll link up with somebody that shoots stills around here. Or if I wasn't such a lazy shit, I could just do it myself. I have all the gear. I would just need to set up a little 2-light rig with a tripod and my little remote, or even just the simple self-timer. And I could get it done pretty quickly. But I don't know. It's fun to. You know what I should do? I should hook up with one of these. I've met a ton of photographers through the cinematic work that I've been doing lately. What I should do is a little work trade with one of them. Make them a promo, a fly-through promo. And trade an hour of their photography. That's what I should do, and I'm gonna force myself to do that because that's what you're not supposed to, but that's one of the really nice things about working in freelance is kind of taking advantage of that, and it's fun because like since no cash is changing hands. It typically becomes like more creative and more loose, and that ends up being really fun. So yeah, those gigs are always low pressure, high fun, and it's a good thing, man. Anytime you can take the seriousness out of what you do, some fun things will typically happen. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna link up with one of these photographers that I've met, and basically what I want to do is a behind the scenes fly through. So like for a photographer, like if they have a studio, like yeah, great, you can do a studio tour and just rip around the studio and it's fine. I did that for Carmichael Group, but what I really want to do is like an on location kind of thing. As just like a behind the scenes. So while they're banging away with strobes set up and shit like that, I'm flying around catching the flash pops and things like that. That could be really, really fun. So yeah, I would like to do that. So this is going to be sitting here like this. Let me just figure out where these... So these two front motors, I can just zap these on the block here. You know what I can... You know, what would be really smart, which is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to cut these wires down. I'm just going to use these as guides to cut these other motor wires down, and then everything will be the right length, and I won't have to waste time measuring. So let's hold these guys up here, butt to butt, and we're going to line these up, and I'm going to cut them a little bit longer, just in case. So I'm going to cut them right up here. And awesome. So now let me just line this up again, make sure it's long enough. Yeah, that's looking really good. Cool. And now I'm going to take this other one and do the same thing. but I'm going to do it from the one that I just did, because I did cut these guys a little bit extra long, and I want to cut them all the same length. So there we go. Give Rodney these wires, throw these back in the box just in case he needs some. Little 16 gauge love. They're not 16 gauge. Smaller than that. What are these, like 24? Probably 24. Okay, so now, technically speaking, I can do the whole damn thing on the wood block here, here, and then the Vista plugs in and the receiver plugs in. So we could potentially get all the soldering done on this right now, and then I can just finish the little bits of final assembly probably off stream, because it's just screwing screws in, which is pretty boring to watch. So let's get these motor pads tinned up, and then we can zap these motors down and away we'll go. Robin Duckett says, is the GemFan sponsorship the big news that you were talking about a while back, or is that still secrets? It might have been, Robin. There are still some secrets, though. Ramdonko says, not 100%, but I think the through holes are called barrels, like sleeves, I think, and can be damaged and removed just like pads, blah, 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 blah. Barrels, huh? That's a cool name for them. I'm down with that. I'm down with calling them barrels. I'm going to forget, but I'll try. All right, so let's get this thing to sit flat. There we go. We're sitting nice and flat. We're going to take our flux pen down in the tools. There's a tools section in the description that has all this stuff. The flux pen, the 5X loop, lots of good stuff, and they are affiliate links over on Amazon. So hit that if you have a second, and make sure you have. I'm not the type of person that's gonna be like, oh, you gotta have $2,000 in tools to do this shit right. I'm of the mind, like, have the minimum number of tools, but have the right tools. And like, some tools can kind of perform double duty, and that's amazing. I like my little workbench area here to be as simplified as possible, so that you don't have 8,000 different things that you're kind of grabbing for. But yeah, in the little tools section in the description below, there's a bunch of really good stuff, a bunch of really handy stuff that you're gonna really like. So check it out if you haven't already. I know most of you have, but if you're new here, there you go. Motor 1 is good to go. Here comes motor 2. Motor 2 is good to go. Let me give you guys a little bit of a zoom so that you can get a better idea of what I'm doing. Basically, I'm using the tip of the soldering iron to heat the pad itself up, and then I'm pushing the solder onto the corner, into the corner between the tip of the soldering iron and the pad itself. Technically, the right way to do it is to push the solder only into the pad itself, but these pads are so small that you can't really do that, and that's okay. As long as you're getting the pad hot enough that the solder flows to all four corners of it and covers up all of the gold, you're more than likely going to be good to go. And that's that. We're going to take our 5X loop and we're going to see if any of these guys bridged. The flux pen really helps out with that quite a bit. Motors 3 and 4 are good to go. Motors 1 and 2 are good to go. Let me manually focus this. I'll hold it as close as possible so that you guys can see what a nice set of clean tinned pads looks like. So there's a little bit of an orange yellow tinge. That's the flux. That's okay. If we were building these things to last 100 years, we would want to use isopropyl. to get that extra little bit of flux off. But we're not. We're going to fly these things for a month and then smash them into a tree, and the AIO is going to catch on fire, and then we're going to have to switch it. There's a little bit of acid in the flux, so like over an extreme amount of time, that acid can do bad things. But yeah, not an issue in my opinion for us. So we're good to go there. Let me put autofocus back on and zoom this back out. Word FPV, you did hear me say Vista. It's somebody else's rig, and they've got a Vista on board. You know, I'll tell you guys what. When there is finally a Vista with a good nano camera, that is potentially when I'll switch to DJI. God knows if I'll be able to afford it. Like money has always been a big part of the reason that I haven't switched. And it still is. So there's a chance that I'll actually never switch. But money will not be the only issue. It will end the lack of locked latency. But I'm actually starting to kind of come around to that. But yeah, the biggest problem is that the Vista with the nano camera, according to everybody, is awful. And I'm not willing to take my rigs from 15mm standoffs all the way up to 23mm standoffs in order to run DJI. So yeah, there's a little bit of an update for you. All of you DJI people will love to hear that, I'm sure. I am excited for shark bite. It's called shark bite. Yeah, shark bite is interesting. I don't understand how Fat Shark has figured out how to lock the latency, but DJI can't. The only thing I think of is DJI just doesn't give a fuck. They claim that they do care about us, but I mean, like, we've been asking for the locked latency thing for a long time, and like, it just doesn't make sense to me how Fat Shark can do it, but DJI can't, which makes me feel like they just don't want to, or they just don't care. I don't know, maybe they can't. Maybe there's some weird shit about their setup that can't do it. There we go, that's a little better. Just wanted to redo that first one. There was a little raised surface that I didn't love. These pads are really close together. I'm those of you that saw me do this last time will probably remember me bitching and moaning about these pads. They're really, really, really close together. Like, this is a somewhat challenging job for me, and I've been soldering for the last 4.5 years, and I was taught by someone, my father, who is an incredible solderer. Totally doable, but yeah, I mean, this is a difficult rig to this is a difficult AIO to solder to. I would not be happy if I was trying to do, if this was like my first rig and I was trying to do this, or like my first scratch build. This would be kind of one of those things that would be like, fuck, I can't do this, I quit. You know what I mean? And that's it's one of the other things that scares me about these AIOs, right? Is like, they're really attractive to brand new people, but like, Jesus, as a brand new people, if this is what I had to learn how to solder on, I mean, my God. And like, in fairness, I learned to solder on an Emax Baby Hawk, which used individual 6-amp ESCs, which were hysterically small. So like, it can be done. Like, this is this is probably just about as hard as that rig was. But I also went to bed on like 3 or 4 occasions fully intending on selling everything the next morning, i.e. quitting the hobby. And for anybody less stubborn than me, that could have been the end. So yeah, that's another reason why I really don't like AIOs. A 20 by 20 stack is easier to build, and it gives you better performance. So do that, in my opinion. All right, we got one more here on motor number 4. All right. Making this look easy. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we good. We're good. I'm gonna take, there's a little bit of a Hershey kiss going on here. Just gonna come in here and just snag that. Keep control over the little piece of solder that I clipped off, and then take one more look with the 5X loop. There we go. That's beautiful. Okay, cool. So now we've got the, those were the existing motors that were on there. Now we've got the 2 new motors that I need to strip and tin, and then we can zap those on. And it's 7:30 now, so that'll probably bring us right to the end of our little 2-hour Fiverr Friday live stream. I almost threw up. Northern Tier FPV with a $20 super chat. He says, "You are the MicroMaster. Hope you good, man. Great show." Thank you, Northern Tier. Very, very generous of you. Much, much, much appreciated. Thank you guys for, everybody that does anything to help me out. Yeah, I'm sitting here because of you. Literally, all you guys. If that's clicking buttons down here, thumbs up, bell icon, all that nonsense. If that's Patreon, if that's buying something on Etsy or Teespring, hiring me on Fiverr, it doesn't matter what it is. It means a lot that you guys are willing to support the dream that I've had for the last almost 5 years now. When I first got into this hobby, I just saw something. I just had this vision of this is going to be a thing. I absolutely loved it, but also there was sort of a vision that I had of yeah, this could be a real thing. So I'm staggered that I've been stubborn enough to keep my head down and keep pushing towards that. The beginning of the live streams, I was doing the live streams just to spread this knowledge out to as many people as possible in hopes that you guys would build micros along with me and we could compare notes and stuff. You guys were the ones that suggested I do the Patreon and a lot of the other things that have kind of fallen into place, which has just been amazing. So yeah, thank you guys. You're all super awesome. B-Man is out of here. He's got a hot date, I heard. Espander is nearly finished a twin brother for his 5-inch, not far from the first plugin and made in tomorrow. First plugin is always terrifying. Wish me luck. Espander, your first plugin should not be terrifying anymore because you should have already bought a ViFly V2. With the ViFly V2, your first plugin will not be terrifying anymore. So get you one. Get you a ViFly V2. Seriously, all of you guys, every single one of you should have one of those ViFly V2s, dead serious. Maybe Get FPV sells them and you can use my affiliate link, but I don't even care. Just get one. I don't care where you get it from. Get one. It'll save you. It'll pay for itself the first time that it trips. Immediately. I think they're $13. They're really cheap. Drone Drops is in the house. He made it, just saying hi and enjoy the stream. Thank you, brother. Robin Duckett says, cheers. See you, dude. Thanks for hanging, brother. Am I caught up? Word FPV says, makes sense to me. I think I'm caught up. Look at me go. Thanks again, Northern Tier. Very cool of you. So let's get the rest of this knocked out here. So I prefer to strip what, I'm going to cut these a little bit shorter. I cut these a little longer than I really wanted to. And now thinking back about this frame, I just want to take a little tiny bit off. There's just not a lot of room with the AIO to have any extra motor wire. So I just want to shorten these up just a tiny little bit more. I'm taking like 2 millimeters off. But yeah, every little bit kind of helps. What I don't want is for the wires to be all bunched up on the AIO. One of the things that I really don't like about AIOs is that they have all of these motor wires that are big and thick and have like, wires kind of have like a memory to them, right? Like you take a wire and you bend it like that and it kind of stays like that. You bend it like this and it stays like this, right? The memory that those wires that these motor wires naturally have, it tends to sort of hold the AIO in place, and it doesn't allow it to move around with its soft mounting. Like we're putting rubber gummies on the mount holes, but then we're attaching all these wires to it, which are gonna negate the soft mountiness of those rubber grommets in the mount holes. And that's not great because we want our flight controller to be as soft mounted as possible, so that the gyro on there gets as little garbage vibrations as possible. Basically, the more vibrations, the harder the job for the gyro and for the filtering and just for the PID loop. So the more vibrations that we can remove with smooth running motors, motor bells that are not bent, motor shafts that are not bent, more accurately, and proper soft mounting, the better the rig is going to fly. I've built identical rigs, one of them on an AIO, one of them on a 20x20 stack, or even a 30x30 stack. I've done this in 5-inch world as well. And 100% of the time, the rigs on the AIOs fly considerably and noticeably worse. Which, I mean, it's a physical thing, right? Like you can't tune that out. You can't it's just a physical thing. The physical system with an AIO is worse than the physical system with a separate flight controller and a separate ESC. The AIOs also have to deal with a lot more electrical noise. You've got all the disgusting, dirty electrical noise that goes through the ESC on the same PCB as the gyro, as the flight controller chip, as everything else. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to separate flight controller and separate ESC, but unfortunately, the hype train is, and from the outside, AIOs seem like a good idea. They seem like they're easier to build. They seem like, they just seem like it makes sense. But unfortunately, once you've built a bunch of them, and specifically once you've built identical rigs, one with and one without, it's like, oh. So this is not a good thing then. But I digress. Sometimes they don't catch on fire, and when they don't catch on fire, they do work. And these are really smooth running motors, so a lot of the problems that we've been talking about shouldn't be that bad. So yeah, I don't want it to be all doom and gloom, but and in fairness, I have totally unrealistic expectations. My rigs are all running on HD cameras that are very susceptible to jello. I try to get these micros to fly every bit as good of a 5-inch rig, every bit as good as a 5-inch rig, which is just crazy. And that's why, so like Crunked, for example, right? Crunked used to give me all kinds of shit for saying that notchy motors create all these problems. He has no reference point. He's never built a micro. So when he would give me a hard time, I would have to call him on that over and over and over and over and over again. So it's, there's, if you just go on Facebook and you just post in one of these Facebook groups, hey, are AIOs terrible or are they great? Most people are going to say, oh, they're great. If you dig a little bit deeper and you ask any of those people what their background is, they're going to have bought like a bind and fly rig and they're going to, and that's it. They have one bind and fly rig and it hasn't caught on fire yet. So to them, AIOs are the greatest thing since sliced bread. When it does inevitably catch on fire, they're going to be the one that says, oh my God, this rig is horrible. Don't anybody ever buy it, even if it caught on fire because they smacked into a brick wall, right? So just, I don't know, just be really, really careful taking any info from people that you don't know, right? Like, is the big thing. Just, yeah. If you ever take any advice from anyone, do a little bit of research into who they are, what their background is, or just ask them. Because that's more important than the advice. Everybody always wants to help, right? Like, and I did too. When I was new, I wanted to help people, and I'm sure that I told people, hey, the Baby Hawk is the absolute greatest rig ever built. And at the time, it was kind of the best micro. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Now, back then, we didn't have the resources that we do today. Today, we have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful resources like Joshua Bardwell, and I mean, Christ, the list goes on and on. I'm just gonna say his name. I'm not gonna try to list off everybody else because I'll forget a bunch of people, and God forbid they see this and get pissed. So I'll just mention Joshua. But yeah, we've got an incredible amount of resources nowadays to get good actual info. Be careful when you go outside of those established resources and ask on a generic Facebook group, hey, what should I buy? What motor should I buy, right? And here's the other thing too. Don't go onto a Facebook group and type, what motor should I buy? That question elicits responses that mean nothing. You haven't given anyone enough information to actually make a recommendation. So typically the only people that are going to respond are the people that don't know anything. Because the people that do know something are going to read that question, they're going to get frustrated that you didn't give any information, and they're not going to answer. So when you're asking, if you do decide to ask a question, ask a full question. What motors should I get, or what battery should I get, or what frame should I get? That question means nothing. That is an impossible to answer question, and anybody that gives you an answer to that question is doing you a disservice if they're not answering the question with a bunch more questions. The Fiverr jobs that I do are like 15 minutes of talking because I need to figure out like how you fly, where you fly, what your skill level is. There's all these things that I need to figure out so that I can give you a good set of recommendations, even for the tuning. Like with my tuning, it's like, if you crash as often as I do, great. I'm probably going to give you damn near my same tune if you're on a clean rig. But if not, if you don't crash as often, or if you're on a different frame, or any number of different things, I'm not. Because it won't work for you. That's sort of the next level of this hobby, is the realization that and here's the other thing too, right? Like the better way to think about it, I should say. we're in a hobby where we've got access to all of this customization, right? Like, that's kind of the point of scratch building these rigs, is that we do it because we want to be able to customize it exactly the way that we want it. So going onto Facebook and typing to a bunch of strangers, hey, what frame should I get? That accomplishes nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you're now custom building a frame based on a stranger's likes and tastes. Don't do that. Don't do that. Listen to the right people. And ask better questions. Ask more complete questions. And I know that's hard when you're new because you just don't get it. Which is why, yeah, just don't ask those questions on just random Facebook groups. Just read a lot, and look up a lot of people's builds, and look at what the pilots who you like their style fly. Stuff like that, that's way more important than asking every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the internet, hey, what should I buy? Because all anybody is going to recommend is the most recent thing that they bought, because they spent money on it. And when you spend money on something, you better fucking well believe you're going to recommend that, because, well, you just spent money on it. And it's hard to admit that you fucked up, right? Like, it's hard to admit that you just wasted your money on something. So when you ask people that question, that's, yeah, like that bias is always going to be there, because they don't want to feel like an asshole, right? Neither do I. It's hard work to separate that out and go, yeah, I just paid this much money for this and it's garbage. I mean, it's not for me. I love calling things that are garbage to make sure that other people don't get them, but I'm a weirdo, quite frankly. Does that make sense? Am I, oh, the DSMX bridge. Thanks, brother. Am I preaching to the choir, or am I losing my audience right now? Okay. I'm sure that makes sense. You guys are very smart. Very, very smart group of people hanging out in the chats here. I'm a lucky guy that when you guys post stuff, I can usually take it at face value and kind of run with it. All right, where's that stupid DSMX? There it is. It's up here in the corner. All right, let's get that taken care of real quick. So I'm going to do this with flux. So if I put flux only on these right two pads, that will keep the solder over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load the tip of the soldering iron up with solder, and then I'm just going to put it in between those two pads. Oh, I turned off the soldering iron. Shitballs. Espander does have a smoke stopper, and he trusts his soldering, but he still panics. If the smoke stopper that you have is not the Vifly, then it's not going to do shit, according to Joshua Bardwell, which is good. Which is good feedback, because I don't know. I'm an electronical dummy. 100% electronic. CiottiFPV's channel here. Robin Duckett says, aren't there some flight controllers that have a surface mount, soft mounting for the gyro? They should put that on an AIO. Yeah, the most famous one is the DYS 30x30 flight controller that Rotor Riot had made for them. The problem is you got to put it in a big ass box in a bunch of gel, so it takes up a bunch of vertical space. So yeah, it's hard to fit. Ramdonko says, is the Acon 20x20 V3 the latest thing? Been looking at various AIOs and 16x6 all-in-one stacks, less RX. I haven't really kept track of the Acon stuff, but it probably is. I mean, the Acon stuff is all bulletproof, so it's kind of like whatever, whichever one you can get your hands on, just get it. Bob Noxious says, speaking of AIOs, I had the 40 amp Beast ESC go out on me. iFlight does have good customer service. Yeah, Kebab has had a whole bunch of those Beast AIOs blow up on him. That Beast AIO was apparently the one that was going to change everything, and it has definitely not. So, yeah, it still seems as if AIOs are a total flip of the coin, whether or not they survive or blow up. All right, DSMX S-Bus bridge is closed on S-Bus. Hey Rodney, we want this to be on S-Bus, right? Not on DSM? I think? No. We want it to be on DSM. That's right. I remember this from last time. Fuck. Putting it on S-Bus inverts it, and then it won't work with the crossfire. God damn it. So let me unbridge the S-Bus pads, and I will bridge the DSM pads. Right? Can somebody check me on that? Pretty sure I remember screwing that up last time. Alright, we're good to go. Are there any other triple pads on here that need to be bridged? I don't think so, right? Nah, we're good. Cool, so there we go. That's it. I'm going to screw these motors back down, slap this thing back together, and Rodney will be good to go. This is going to go upside down here. Well, not upside down, right side up, I should say. What time is it? 7:52? Look at that. Good timing. All right, boys and girls, the rest of this is just screwing in all these screws that Rodney very kindly separated out for me, which is very boring, and there's no real tips or tricks that I can give you for that. So let me get caught up on chat. Rodney says DSM and not S-Bus. I remember from last time, but you can check the other board. Good call, brother. Good call. Hell yeah. Let's see. And yep, DSM is bridged. Cool. And let me look on the bottom of this board to see if there's anything else that I need to bridge. Nah, we're good. We are good. Cool. All set. I'll have this back together probably tomorrow. I am going out for the night tonight. And yeah. M2K-FPV says, what's the issue you got with Armatan frames? Been ripping a Gecko 3-inch lately and liking it. Got a Marmot HD frame. Build it or sell it. So my main issue with Armatan frames is that Chris from Armatan, the main guy, absolutely refuses to listen to literally every single person in all of FPV when they explain to him that the directionality of the carbon fiber weave, especially in the arms, makes a really big difference and is really important. The entire FPV industry, and quite frankly, the entire carbon fiber industry, like this is known info, which is that the typical carbon fiber layup is north, south, east, west. In the north-south direction, it's very strong. In the east-west direction, it's very strong. On the diagonals, it's not strong. Armatan frames they don't have the arms in an X configuration. The arms are kind of swung back like this, which in itself is a bad idea. That makes the arms less strong. When you go hurtling into something, if the arms are at a 45, they're going to send half the load in either direction. When you start to swing the arms back here and you slam it into something, the arm is just going to want to break, right? It's not sending in as much of the energy inwards. It's taking all the energy outwards. Also, when you do that and you swing the arms down like that, now you can't get the carbon fibers to run the length of the arm. And that also makes the arms a lot less weak. Armatan has this lifetime warranty, which in theory seems like a good idea until you realize that a couple different things. Until the main thing is that, like a glide frame, for example, the arms are like $4. So you pay 50 bucks for a glide frame instead of $100 for an Armatan frame. How many arms are you going to have to break to make up that price difference, right? A lot. On top of that, most of the Armatan frames are solid base plate, which is A, worse, even worse for performance, but B, for flight performance and vibration isolation, but B, it makes every single time the arm breaks, and they're gonna break because they're weak and they're not in the right configuration, you have to rip the whole fucking frame apart. And then you have to send that shit out for the warranty thing, and then you have to wait for it to come back. It's just a total nightmare. And again, even their frames that have removable arms, it just doesn't make any sense. You're gonna have to run that warranty so many times, and you're gonna have to spend so much of your time getting in touch with them and waiting and shipping and taking pictures and all this bullshit. It's not worth it. It just isn't worth it. And all the while, you've got this is gonna sound really harsh, but it's the truth. You've got one of the worst performing frames available, and I know that sounds really harsh, and I'm sorry, but it's the truth, and it's been proven by many people. Chris Rosser has tested Armatan frames, and they're the worst. All of the black box guys for years now have seen black box logs, and it's like kind of the running joke where, like, if a black box log is really dirty, the first thing that these guys will say is like, that's an Armatan frame, isn't it? So yeah, Armatan has amazing marketing. They sponsor a ton of pilots, and they have this lifetime warranty. So they do a really good job marketing their products. And it's not just you, man. Plenty of people have Armatan frames at home, and you know, you just spent a whole bunch of money on one, so you're like financially invested, so you don't want to admit that you fucked up. And then, you know, you got a whole bunch of sponsored pilots who are getting their frames for free. They're not going to talk shit because they're getting the frames for free, right? So there's a bunch of reasons. I used to rag on Armatan a lot. I try not to anymore. But if you guys ask me the question, I'm going to be honest. So, yeah. I really, for me though, I can't get over the fact that the frames don't perform well from a vibration isolation standpoint and from a crashing standpoint. There are frames out there that are so much less money that perform so much better. The Glide, the Prototype 5, the Apex, not really less expensive, but miles better of a frame. The AIO 5 from Chris Rosser, and then with micro frames we've got the Ripsqueak, which is fantastic, the AIO 3.5, which seems to be really good if you're on DJI. So yeah, there's a lot of really good frames out there, and Armatan doesn't sell any of them, in my opinion and in my experience, and a lot of other people's experience. I keep waiting for Chris from Armatan to kind of wake up and listen to the entire industry that's telling him what he needs to do to fix the goddamn frames, but they're still, people still buy them, so he's not really financially motivated to, because he's doing such a good job with marketing. There's very little financial motivation for him to put in all the R&D to create a good frame, right? Because, yeah. Genix FPV is in the house. What's up, brother? Rodney says, we got that. Okay, we're cool. Caught up on chat. Let me grab a little bit of flight footage for you guys to check out, and I'm going to shut this down. CMYK FPV is about to build 2 Ripsqueak V2s. Nice. Are you, CMYK, are you converting the one that you've got to a V2? Bob Noxious says, love you later, chat. Brandon Bakes Beans, looking forward to a flight post. Later, everybody. And what can I give you guys? Insta360 Go. There's a little bit of... No, that's not going to work. Pro 4? Pro 4. Yeah, this will be fun. No. Give you guys something interesting. Oh, I got a bunch of one-off stuff here. Tarsier Maiden, Tarsier Trailer, Sim Sunday. No, that's... Herb Squeak Dance? What the fuck is... Oh, I know what that is. I'm going to leave you guys with this. This will be fun. You're welcome, Drone Drops. Here you guys go. I'm going to leave you with something that will make you laugh. And it'll probably get me copyright stricken, but that's okay. See you guys later. What's today? Friday? I'll see you on Sunday at 3 o'clock. I don't know what we're going to do. Probably workbench stuff rather than Sim Sunday. But yeah, I'll see you Sunday. Maybe tomorrow. Who the hell knows? Only due to the lack of the base plates being in stock. Gotcha. Somehow destroyed 2 of those. All right, boys. See you Sunday. I hope you have an awesome Friday night. Go get some hookers and blow. Later. Stuff all over the place. That's not great. Hold on. Wow, that jumped up a notch.